Todd. I'm the Merce.
That's me, Felt Hot Glue.
This is the NuB Podcast. Basically, the podcast where we're going to talk about everything nerdy, and then probably give you some information about events or upcoming things in the local nerd community in Brevard. I guess we'll just get right into it. Today, I guess we should talk about Suicide Squad because that was a relatively big movie release recently. What was your feeling on that, Felton?
I enjoyed it. I was able to suspend my issues with, obvious issues of disbelief, because I habitually do that with films. I will go in and I'll go, well, that's unrealistic, and, have issues. And recently, over the past few years, I've been able to stop doing that. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed it. It wasn't terrible. I definitely had some issues with some of the characters.
Yeah. But
overall, I thought it was good. And apparently my dog agrees.
I can see that.
So,
well, let me just say, the characters, I really enjoyed most of them. I did not like Killer Croc. Felt like Killer Croc was kind of plastered on, as it were. Margot Robbie was a fantastic Harley Quinn. I felt that the Deadshot by Will Smith was absolutely fantastic. I mean, I really felt like they brought that character to life on the big screen.
He was one of the highlights.
Yeah. I did not like the main bad guy. I felt like the main bad guy, and if you haven't seen the movie yet, you probably want to skip past this part, because we are probably going to spoil it. But this is
is going to be full spoilers. I'm not. Exactly. I'm not pussyfooting around. I'm done with spoilers.
This is coming out in September probably. So if you haven't seen it by then,
December.
Of next year.
Yeah, 2017, Slayer. This is going to be great.
Exactly.
I hope.
Basically, they did a great job of misleading you as to who the villain was going to be, who, what was going on, who was part of the team, this, that, and the other thing. The Enchantress is the one that ends up being the bad guy, and they had her, they had it all seem like she was going to be part of the team, which I guess technically she was for a very short period of time. But, I did not enjoy like the little. Would you call them the Power Ranger putties?
They were the putties, putty Power Ranger enemies.
Yeah,
putties.
I didn't really enjoy that. I didn't enjoy the fact that they were these, faceless, mindless beings that they just, beat on and things like that. But I guess they had to do that so they wouldn't take away from the characters themselves. So you would enjoy the villains themselves more than, I guess, the bad guys they were fighting. But I don't know. I felt like there was no chemistry. There was nothing great about the villains. Like Enchantress and her brother are boring as hell.
Well, there was no gain. There was no gain to actually killing these. Essentially, what they were they were just like the putties and Power Rangers. They were faceless, nameless. They didn't mean anything. Okay, so they were the people in the city.
Yes.
Okay, they were the people in the city. So I suppose that's supposed to trigger some type of emotion. But ultimately, well, they're dead anyway. It's not like you're going to be able to bring them back.
Yeah.
Or, are they going to be able to? I don't know.
They didn't really address that.
They didn't address that because...
They stopped the bad guy and then
And then all of a sudden, she's free.
Yeah.
So maybe if they hadn't killed a whole bunch of people, then they would have been free of the goo. The eye goo, because there were some that had like 100.
They looked like hundreds of eyes, and
they looked Lovecraftian.
Now I will say the movie looked great. I thought it looked fantastic.
Yes, the visuals, the costumes, the sets, and it seems like there was a lot of either they did a really really good job with the CGI, or they used a lot of practical sets and effects on that, or on location shots.
I don't know which it was, but it was really good, and like I said. They did a great job of misleading the audience. There was a lot, beforehand, I should say. Yeah. They took a lot of plays out of the Marvel handbook. First off, the commercials. Mm-hmm. Most of the commercials did not line up with the movie.
There was a lot of scenes.
Things. Yeah, there was a lot of scenes that weren't actually in the movie. There's a lot of things they did in the movie that were different from the previews. Like you were talking about Jared Leto's Joker preview, I believe, right?
Yeah, where he's sitting in a chair and he's got somebody in the chair, and I believe it was a man originally in the chair. Where it's like, I'm going to hurt ya. Mm-hmm. And then, it turns out it was Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn, yep.
Well, no, Harley Quinzel, right?
Harley Quinzel,
Harley Quinzel. And, it was her. He tortured her, and now they're getting into the whole, well, she just has severe... I almost said Munchausen's severe what is it? Stockholm Syndrome. Oh,
Yeah.
she has severe Stockholm Syndrome, so on and so forth. But I'm like, man, I don't know. I almost like the idea that she was a willful participant.
Yeah.
I almost like the idea better that she just met him and was like, hey, this guy's got all the answers.
Yeah.
And just, fell into acid and became batshit
And
crazy or whatever the case.
became who she was on the inside.
Yeah, and became who she was on the inside. Because to me, that message jives more than this. Some people are trying to promote the narrative that this is putting domestic violence on a pedestal as a romantic thing or something along those lines. I know I've seen several comments that have to do with that, but I almost like the idea of her being just... Because she says it. Oh, we're all ugly on the inside, something like that. So that comment to me...
Well, and you have to understand, too, like, those who actually read the comic books, you'll find that her and the Joker have a very abusive relationship. They do. And that's portrayed very well in the comic books. But at the same time, I think it's a positive message. I know that sounds horrible, but it's a positive message for a lot of females out there, because there's a lot of women that are in these like horrible relationships, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like they feel like they can't get on without this guy, And now Harley Quinn doesn't really have anything to do with Joker in the comic book. She is separated from him. She's become her own woman. And she's become a stronger, more independent person. In the comic books at least. You don't really see that in the movie yet. But
wasn't there a short where Harley and Batman go on a date? I vaguely remember.
Don't know. I have no idea. But I mean, there's like she's got a relationship with like Poison Ivy and things like that. She's doing her own thing. Yeah. And occasionally the jealous boyfriend comes back. The jealous abusive boyfriend comes back and tries to latch back onto her, and she's she's constantly fighting against that. So it's I guess I shouldn't say it's a positive message, but it's a message for a lot of women that deal with these things in real life. They can read this character and see this character becoming stronger and kind of pushing herself away, but
faster, harder.
Yeah, exactly. Now I also like that they introduced the heroes into this movie by having like Ben Affleck's Batman, which is my favorite Batman now, capturing both the Joker, not the Joker, I'm sorry, Harley Quinn and Deadshot. But then they also introduced the Flash in this, capturing Captain Boomerang. The Flash played by was it Ezra something or another, but that really threw me off. I thought it was great though, because it was just all of a sudden boom, here's the Flash, and he picks up freaking Captain Boomerang and throws him in jail.
I saw a really funny YouTube video. I forget which channel it was.
Ezra Miller, sorry.
I forget which channel it was. I think I was just watching it yesterday, the day before. This guy was talking about how he thought Captain Boomerang was the most useless villain. Like he's good at something. He can throw a boomerang. Yeah. Like wow. That is super villain material. Well, focusing just on that. He does a whole host of other things. I understand that he's a career criminal.
No, I wasn't knocking that. I was actually going to agree with that. That's a huge part of DC's, whole, pantheon of villains. Like, especially like, Flash's Rogues Gallery, they've all got one thing that they're really good at, or maybe even they're not really good at. They just found something that like there's one guy that has a heat gun, and that's his thing.
On the CW they're doing that right now. There's the guy with the heat gun and the guy with the ice gun, and they're
Captain Cold and
having some type of double dragon team up where they do cold and fire. I don't know.
It's like, I'm good at this one thing.
It's like, I have a heat gun out in my garage. Yeah. Can I be a villain?
Absolutely.
Run around with a battery pack and a heat gun?
Damn, I gotta find one thing I'm really good at.
Oh, man.
Sleeping. I'm really good at sleeping. Like,
Sleep man.
That would be a great.
I could be a raw skin on my foot man. I'm really good at that. I can't ever seem to get that to go away.
Oh, man.
That's a superpower.
So then, another news story, I guess, that's there's two news stories that were kind of tied up with the whole Suicide Squad thing. First off was David Ayer, the writer and director of Suicide Squad, at the premiere, gets up in front of everybody who's there, and he says, "Fuck Marvel." He's caught up in the moment, gets excited, fuck Marvel, right? Well, then Stan Lee, being pretty much the greatest man on earth, tweets to David Ayer and says, "Don't feel too bad about dropping the F-bomb. It's a compliment of the highest order." And then he attached a video that he did a few years earlier explaining why saying F you isn't really an insult. Basically, the video goes on to say that, that fornication, sex, whatever the case may be, is one of the greatest things
It's
that could
positive.
ever happen to. Yeah, so when somebody says, fuck you, to me, it's like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like that's the most pleasant thing you could have wished on me. So I think, he did a great job of turning it into a positive, which is kind of his thing.
Well, what I like about that is he didn't, and I know we talked about this before, he didn't create that division.
Mm-hmm.
He almost countered it with a message of unification.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I don't really want to, I don't want to start that. Maybe he's getting too old. He doesn't want to, he doesn't want to separate fans. I mean, these aren't mutually exclusive anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be a Marvel fan and you can be a DC fan.
And an Image fan and a Valiant fan.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfectly okay.
That's what's great about nerd culture nowadays. That's kind of why I started the NuB in the first place. The Nerds United in Brevard was created because all these great things were happening around locally, nerd-wise. These nerd stores were opening up, and just so you guys know, I'm not using nerd as a derogatory, thing.
It's positive.
I think of it as a positive
It's like
thing.
fuck. It's positive.
Exactly. Fuck is positive. So... these great gaming stores and stuff were popping up, and I wanted to create a place, on Facebook where we could kind of all keep track of what's going on in these places in Brevard, so we can attend the events, get to meet each other, that kind of thing. I wanted to continue this nerd culture revolution that was happening locally.
You got dropped on. They dropped a line on Space Coast Cosplay and Props, right?
What's that?
The Brad Bradley, the fellow that does Space Coast Cosplay and Props, he was promoting. Oh, check out NuB. This is a great
really?
group. Yeah.
See, things like that make me smile. I like to hear that.
I'm like, I always go out of my way whenever I see his posts. I'm like, I like that. I'm gonna like it.
Well, you have to understand too, I'm just so everybody knows, I don't get paid for this. We're not getting paid for this. There's no money involved in this. None of these, nowhere in Brevard is paying me to run the NuB. I'm going to be starting a website for the NuB soon. We're starting this podcast. All these things I'm doing, pretty much for free right now. I mean, if I do start getting funded by some source, that'd be great. But
anonymous rich benefactor.
Exactly. Get my Bruce Wayne on or something like that.
Yeah.
But other than that, this is all just out of love for nerd culture. So I'm glad to see that the nerd environment is coming together like this. And Stan Lee was able to kind of diffuse a situation that, would have probably become, at least in the media, would have become a huge deal.
Huge deal, and bickering between the fans.
Exactly.
Because you look at it like a micro environment. Look at the YouTube comments.
Mm-hmm.
When one YouTuber... I love YouTube drama, by the way. I'm such an asshole. I'm such a hypocrite. But when one YouTuber attacks the other YouTuber, what happens? There is a comment war between the two groups of fans.
Yes.
And I just don't think when that happens on the large scale, anybody wins.
Exactly.
Because look at what happens when you do it with consoles.
Mm-hmm.
You create mutually exclusive titles on one machine, and I know back in the 90s, they were expensive, and I don't remember having a lot of money, so pretty much I had Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, and that was it. You got to pick one. But now it's it's different. Games will really... I mean, thankfully the business owners, or the, Nintendo, Sega, all these game developers and whatnot, said, that's not a good business model. Cross-platform everywhere.
Exactly.
So the exclusive titles are disappearing.
And that's the thing is that, most people, are having more than one system in their house. They're playing games that are kind of competing in the same markets. They'll play both games. That kind of thing. There's just it's become a culture that's more accepting than it ever was before. I think as much as I'd like to say that nerds were kind of looked down upon by other people that weren't into the nerd culture. There was also a lot of, back in the 90s and things like that, there was a lot of segregation in the nerd culture itself.
Yeah.
You were this kind of nerd, or you're that kind
Star
of nerd.
Trek or Star Wars.
Exactly.
Pick a side. You can't be both.
Exactly. And then you had brought this point up when we were talking previously about, J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams, directed the first two, and I believe helped, was executive producer or wrote, part of, the third Star Trek movie, and he just dropped, the new Star Wars movie, so that's a man who's, He's on both sides of the fence, and as far as I'm concerned, it's all good. It's fantastic. Those Star Trek movies, I think, have been fantastic. The third one was great. It wasn't as good as the first two, in my opinion, but it was great. And that Star Wars movie blew me away. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And yes, I know there's gonna be people that are, oh, that's just a retelling of of Episode 4. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's fine. You know what? Sometimes I like to hear the same shit again. It was great. I liked it.
Okay, you bring that up. Look, they're remaking Ben-Hur. I just saw an ad today. I thought it was a rumor. I thought it was a joke, apparently, when I saw it a year ago. But they're remaking it.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. I guess the Mayans were right. Was it the Mayans?
Mm-hmm.
They had, or maybe it was the Aztecs. They had the long count calendar, like every 3,000 years, the world restarts.
I believe that was the Aztecs.
Was it the Aztecs? Yeah. And apparently that's Hollywood now. Every 3 or so dozen years... 4 dozen years, they start remaking the same movies.
It's Ragnarok when it comes to movies.
Well, apparently the world ended, with the writer's strike in 2000. Yes. Okay, this is the timeline of Hollywood, and then they've rebuilt, so now they have to remake all these other movies.
Yeah, well, in the is it Norse mythology? Ragnarok is the war that that destroys everything, and then
who killed Odin?
The world, I don't remember.
And who was Odin? No, I'm saying in this analogy, who's Odin? In cinema.
I don't know.
We're gonna have to come up with.
I guess the writers would be, but I'm not gonna get that detail into it. But
now I should make this into an analogy. This is a full story now.
Oh my God! So, still with the Suicide Squad, another big story was the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Oh,
the Rotten Tomatoes score of 27%.
Bad.
Yeah. But at least they were kind enough to put on there that the audience score was 70%.
Yes.
I think this was one of those situations, and this is again what I'm loving about all this stuff nowadays. This is a situation where people said, you know what, screw these, pompous, critics who are basically, I mean, they're just oversaturated with movies. Now they have to have something every time they go to the movies that is just mind blowing before they give it, a good score.
They've got to have that Lars and the Real Girl.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of ridiculous thing that is
or the lobster.
The lobster. But. I mean, they were, there was petitions going around to shut down Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that. Now, I mean, in my opinion, it's just a critic site. I mean, there's no reason to
an
shut
opinion
them down.
Site.
Exactly. It's these
why are we getting into this whole argument on the internet now of censoring everything? Oh my God, everything has to be censored now.
Yeah, everybody's being offended and stuff like that, whatever the case may be is. But I am glad though that people still went out. They still paid the money. They still saw. Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad, in my opinion, was a solid, C+, almost B movie. There's a lot of, things they could have done better. Like, case in point, I really thought from the commercials it was going to be a comedy.
Yeah.
It really seemed like it was going to be a comedy. I thought there was going to be, I thought
they
it was going
went
to be
dark.
laughing.
They went dark, especially
a lot darker than I expected.
With Will Smith. Mm-hmm. Deadshot. There we go. His whole story arc about, his daughter.
Yeah.
That was very dark.
But that was very true to the character.
Yeah.
That was...
I mean, it was
Amanda
great.
Waller, her going and just executing everybody in the room when they come to rescue her, that was so with her character. Like, they did a great job with all that stuff, but this is going to sound horrible, but I feel like if Marvel had made this movie, I would have laughed my ass off from beginning to end.
Yeah.
It would have been... They still could have done the dark stuff, but I think you would have had a lot more excitement.
Let me throw this at you. And this is my understanding of Chinese cinema and other countries and how they do film.
Yes.
A lot of people don't have a lot of money. So the investment of going to the movie theater, they want to be able to see a movie and experience the entire range of emotion. That's why in America, we typically look at Bollywood films and we go, oh man, those are kind of goofy and crappy. But you look at a movie like Sing 'Em, okay? I absolutely love that movie for what it is. It has the classic music video in the middle of the movie, the goofy, crazy action scenes, but the serious scenes are almost very heart-wrenching. I mean, there's some really good content in that movie.
Well, we used to call those blockbusters, okay? And I think a example of a great blockbuster to me would be, like, say, Independence Day, the first movie.
Yeah.
You had all the action. You had some very very heart wrenching moments with like the deadbeat. Well, he wasn't a deadbeat dad, but the drunken alcoholic dad who sacrifices himself.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Flies in it with a nuke and
exactly. You had the drama with him and his family. You had the drama with Jeff Goldblum and his and his ex, and there's a lot of comedy. There was a lot of action. That was used to be referred to as blockbusters. That's kind of what I was expecting them to do with the Suicide Squad. To be quite honest, I really thought it was going to be a blockbuster. I really thought it was going to be one of those movies that has everything. It was going to have the action, the adventure, the romance, the comedy, and the darkness. And
it had a bromance, though.
It did have a bromance.
I thought Rick and Deadshot.
Oh yes,
I would love to see a Rick and Deadshot movie.
That needs to be a meme. They need to show Rick and Deadshot together, and then have that whole still a better love story than.
Oh, it was that would have been that dynamic between those two. I don't know. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was great, and
because there was redemption there.
Yes.
See, there was a little bit of that in there, and I liked that.
See, it's funny you bring that up because this is going to be something that will probably never happen, but there was a comic book that was out called it still is out. It still runs out. It's called The Secret Six, and it was originally called Villains United, and it happened during. It was a 6-part miniseries at the time, and it was written by Gail Simone, and it was where it was during the Infinite Crisis. In the DC universe, like all hell's breaking loose. There's a villain behind the scenes who's kind of bringing all the villains together to fight the heroes, right? Mm-hmm. Well, there's a group of just the crappy like C-list villains that either weren't invited or didn't want to be part of this Villains United thing, and they get blackmailed into becoming a group, to basically screw up all the other villains' plans. They get it. It's a lot like Suicide Squad, and the reason it was done that way is because Gail Simone really wanted to write Suicide Squad. And they wouldn't give it to her, so she wrote this, but it was fantastic.
So this is like those spin-off movies, like when you have ants. And then there's somebody that leaves and creates bugs.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or like the Transformers movies, and then there was like the Transmorphers or something like that.
Transmogrifiers or some bullshit.
So, but this was much better, in my opinion, than Suicide Squad ever was. Like the story was fantastic. The dynamic was great. But Deadshot was in that as well. But he was in that with a character named Catman.
Okay, I'm interested now.
Catman came out in like the 50s or something like that, and he was like he was a villain for Batman, and like he fought Batman to a standstill, right? Well, then he kind of falls off the face of the earth, and then he gets brought back in by Kevin Smith when he was writing Green Arrow as like a laughable character. He's all fat and out of shape and stuff like that now, and he gets beat up by Green Arrow because Green Arrow's looking for something that's in his house, and they're like, "Look at you, you become this shell of a man. You fought Batman to a standstill at one point in time. And of course he's all overweight and he's I can still do it now. It's like okay, well." What ends up happening is he ends up, realizing that his life is shit. He's doing nothing with his life. So he, for some reason, goes to Africa. He basically leaves all of his worldly possessions behind and goes and lives with a pack or a pride of lions. Because
he's Catman.
And he becomes buff and badass and becomes like this kick-ass character. So then he's in the Secret Six, with Deadshot and the other people that are in it, and him and Deadshot have a bromance. This is friggin' hilarious, they both don't trust each other, but then they start to trust each other, but then they don't trust each other. A lot like what was going on in Suicide Squad. I just, when I was watching the movie, I was like, man, this would be so much better if it was Catman. But I thought the movie was good. Captain Boomerang was my favorite character in it, just because he was just such a douchebag. He was so funny. He's like, I guess he's a brony. He's got his little pink unicorn.
I think that was just a unicorn, but you know what though? Was that the same unicorn that Deadpool had?
That's why.
Was that the joke?
I kept thinking that was maybe a slight towards Deadpool.
I don't know. I
have no idea.
saw that and I'm like, I don't get the reference, but everybody's laughing, so I'm gonna laugh too because I don't want to feel left.
The guy's name is Jay Courtney.
Discount Kevin Hardy.
Yes. Tom Hardy.
Kevin Hardy. Discount Tom Hardy. Wow, I screwed up my own joke.
But yeah, Suicide Squad. Like I said, it was a solid C plus. B movie for me. But then that begs the question now, and we posted this on the NuB. Should Harley Quinn have her own movie? Do you think that Margot Robbie did such a good job as Harley Quinn that she could hold a movie on her own?
Well, I think Margot, yes, as she portrayed it, the actress. She made the role. She did. But again, on her own, would it be interesting without the Joker?
It's a good question. Well, obviously the Joker would be involved because the Joker's part of her origin story.
And
so.
for how long are we gonna flirt with Jared Leto here?
Hey, let me say,
how many movies is he just gonna kind of be the I'm in the movie for 10 minutes type of guy? We need to have a little bit more engagement here, because look at all the scene. Look at the introduction with Heath Ledger. Mm-hmm. Okay, you had several minutes in the first that Batman movie where you didn't know that it was him.
Yeah.
And you just had this mask, and he was doing all these things, and all of a sudden, you find out, that's the Joker.
Yes.
I thought introductions like that, without exposition, and I know I keep bringing exposition up because it's done very poorly.
For those listening, this is the first time you've brought exposition up.
Didn't I complain about Jack Reacher?
Yes, but that was a podcast that isn't going to air.
Oh, okay, that's right.
This is officially our first podcast.
Well, I've complained to you about exposition.
Yes.
But yeah, just there where you can tell the story by showing it without having to sit there and talk about how badass somebody is. Mm-hmm. I enjoy that so much better because there's so much more meaning behind it. There's substance there. It's not just a whole lot of shit talking. And I almost think they accomplished that with the Joker in this, because you got a good feel. Wow. He's legit crazy.
Yes.
Like, some of the mannerisms that he had, like, you could tell that he was trying to portray a character that had compulsions, that, there was something going on in his head.
Well, for all of those out there who were talking shit about Jared Leto as Joker, I want to point out that Heath Ledger had an entire movie to be Joker. Jack Nicholson had an entire movie to be Joker. Jared Leto had, 12 minutes?
He had 10, 12 minutes, whatever it was.
On film. So, in that time that he was on screen, I have to say that he did a great job. Like, I really thought he portrayed a very interesting Joker. He portrayed this gangster Joker, which at first I was not on board with at all. I'm like, are you effing kidding me? Like, I love Jared Leto. I think he's a great actor. But, what's with all the tattoos and all this stuff? But, I mean, after I thought about it, in the DC universe, really the Joker is a gangster. I mean, all of basically Batman's villains are gangsters. They all have a crew, they all have their turf and all that kind of stuff. It's just he's the crazy one of those people. So Jared Leto's Joker, in my opinion, was really good. He just hasn't had a chance to really shine on screen yet. He only got 10 minutes, but in that 10 minutes, I felt the craziness. I felt this crazy love that he had for Harley Quinn.
Oh, he showed
obsession.
That. Oh,
yes. Yeah. I thought that was phenomenal. And
he was physically torn.
Yes.
When she wasn't with him, and I'm like,
when he threw her in that vat, and he was like, he's sitting there, at the top, and he's just kind of,
he can't stand it.
Yeah, he just cannot stand her being in there by herself. He takes off his shirt and then jumps in there with her, and then
was that acid?
Yeah, well, it was whatever the chemicals were that created Joker in the first place.
Yeah.
So
at made the him Ace crazy chemical, and turned him white. And...
So he jumps into the vat with her, and then realizes that she has survived the process, and then he's overjoyed, and they're in there, together. The lengths that he goes at to get Harley Quinn, in this movie, I mean, I felt like he just portrayed that great, obsessive, crazy character really well, and I think that when he gets a movie, if he gets a movie where he gets to be the Joker the whole movie, I think we're going to see something really.
They recorded
really
way
good.
More scenes.
Yes,
that's what I heard. That he is quite upset that they recorded all these extra scenes, because there were people saying, "Well, why was he mailing people condoms and doing all this weird shit when he was in the movie for like 10 minutes? That could have been done in a day." But apparently, he was there quite a while on set with them as the Joker.
Well, I thought that was a brilliant idea, anyways, to not give us too much Joker.
Yeah.
Because again, it wasn't the Joker movie; it was the Suicide Squad.
Testing the waters, I know.
Well, and then on top of that, it leaves you wanting more. Yeah. I want to see more Jared Leto as Joker. I want to see how he's going to hold up. I want to see Ben Affleck's Batman versus this Joker.
Yeah.
Because Ben Affleck's Batman is by far, my favorite Batman now. Michael Keaton will still have a very special place in my heart. I was never a big fan of
Val Kilmer.
Or George Clooney.
Yeah. Oh, George Clooney wasn't.
No, come on.
He wasn't good for anyone.
The Dark Knight series that they did.
Christian Bale was okay. I mean, again, I still feel. I feel like Ben Affleck played a really good Bruce Wayne.
But why does he have to talk like this?
Yeah, I just feel like. I really feel like Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne was very ineffectual. I don't know. Yeah. He just didn't carry weight and authority.
Christian Bale is an amazing actor.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
He is not my Batman.
Yeah.
I did not like the talking like this. The fact that he has a lisp, I know that's horrible. I know that's that's bad on my part. But it's like, my Batman doesn't have a lisp. He just never felt like Batman to me. And the worst part is, like, all of his villains, were really good. Like Tom Hardy's Bane and, and of course, Heath Ledger's, Joker and, all that stuff. I thought we're all really good bad guys. I just felt that the lacking part was Batman himself. So to see Ben Affleck as a great Batman and then to be in a crappy movie like, Batman versus Superman, I'm like, son of a bitch, can we just get this together?
That was another one where I suspended my critical thinking, and I just sat down and I watched it, and I tried to enjoy it. And you know what? I enjoyed it, but there were a couple of scenes like when I almost said Harvey Kent. Harvey Kent. No,
Two-Face.
His dad.
Oh, his dad. Okay.
Clark Michael. What the hell is his name?
Clark Kent's dad.
Clark Kent Sr.
Yeah, I believe so. I don't
Is
know.
that his name? Whatever. Well, anyway, Superman's.
We're gonna get totally bashed.
Yeah, Superman's human dad. Okay, he's in the Kevin Costner too. I love Kevin Costner. People shit all over him. I love him. I thought he was great, but he's sitting there going, "Oh no, stay back." When like literally all he would have had to have done is walk over, and then even if the tornado went to pull him, could have been like, "Oh well, it couldn't quite get both of them. What a miracle!" Because you're talking, this was in like a Bible thumping town.
Yeah.
People would have been like, "Oh, it's a Jesus miracle!" Clark saved his dad. Like it literally did not have to happen that way.
Yeah.
But I think like that and go, no, stop, don't think that way. Just watch, enjoy the image they're trying to paint. Like.
Yeah, I think. Clearly, Marvel right now is winning in the movie realm as far as this is concerned. But DC did put a good showing up with Suicide Squad. And I really can't wait to see what they do next. Justice League, I'm hoping will be, kind of their upward, climb.
They're really selling it. They're really saying, "Oh, this is going to be good. You're going to enjoy it." And I suppose as long as they don't go the route of we're going to be better than Marvel.
Yeah.
No, you got to go.
Just make your own movie.
We are going to make an entertaining series.
Exactly.
An entertaining genre of these superhero films. With our content. I think if they go that route and they're not trying to defeat the opposition. I mean, because let's face it, you got people that like Marvel, you got people that like DC, and if you're trying to crush the other one. You're going to aim to disappoint.
Yeah, this is the 90s anymore. There's no reason to pit, anybody.
There's no reason to hate
anybody.
people that like Sega Genesis anymore because it's been
screw you, Sega Genesis.
Not around for years.
Actually, I was on the Sega Genesis bandwagon because they had the more adult games. So I was like,
I was
like, oh, go play your little baby games on Nintendo. But
Dr. Mario.
All right. Well, speaking of doctors, there's another comic book movie coming out. Oh, well, I love Doctor Who.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, yeah.
I meant to say Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Doctor Strange is going to be written and directed by Scott Derrickson. That's the guy that did a lot of horror films. He did, like, the Sinister series. So, the
video game?
No, Sinister, the movie.
Oh.
But they're horror films.
Okay.
But, so, what they're saying, what the press releases are saying, basically, is that this movie is going to be different from anything Marvel's done yet. It's going to be much more like trippy, I guess. It's going to be very
It looks
strange.
They do have a lot of fractal computer graphics with like the cityscapes and stuff.
Then they have Benedict Cumberbatch, who's who's Dr. Stephen Strange, and of course he's one of those actors that every time he plays a role, he really like immerses himself in the role. So I can't wait to see him as Dr. Stephen Strange. I can't wait to see him as Doctor Strange because I really think he's going to bring that character to life for us, on the big screen. And then another Benedict Wong is going to be playing Wong. Don't ask me how that worked out for them, but
that's amazing.
That must have been just the casting thing. That must have been what got him in. They were like, "What's your last name? Wong? Oh, well, the character's name is Wong."
Both these guys are really great. We got Steven, and then we got Benedict Wong to play Wong. Well, we're going to have to go with Mr. Wong.
Exactly.
To play Mr. Wong.
And Wong, for those people that don't know who the character is when it comes to the Doctor Strange mythos, as it were, Wong is basically like his I don't want to say manservant. That sounds horrible, but it's basically he's like his
attaché.
Yeah, he's his Alfred. He's like Batman, has Alfred Pennyworth. Wong is kind of Doctor Strange.
What was he in? Was he in another movie?
Wong?
Yeah.
Benedict Wong?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I'm trying to think of his face because I remember seeing him going, "Oh man, that guy, he's terrific."
Well, then there's Tilda Swinton, who's going to be playing the Ancient One. I guess she's the one that's going to be giving Doctor Strange's powers and then kind of like training him. And you might remember her from.
Yeah, I remember him.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. You might remember her from like
everything.
Yeah, it seems like anytime you need a strong female character who you're not trying to be like sexy per se, but like just very strong. She was the Ice Queen in the Narnia movies.
Yep.
She was I believe she was
like some sweets.
She was like the head angel. She was like Michael, I think, in Constantine.
Yeah.
So
I liked the Constantine movie.
I like the Constantine.
I don't,
movie.
People.
The TV show was fantastic.
Yes.
The fact that it got canceled pisses me off.
They might.
Amazing.
I thought they said they might resurrect it.
They've said there's been rumors about that for a while now. Until I actually see something.
Well, they keep bringing him back in the other CW shows, and I'm like, what are you doing to me?
They're teasing us. They're just giving us the tip. They're just kind of.
I was upset.
So I guess the release date for Doctor Strange is November 4th.
Too long from now.
Exactly.
That's the release date.
Yeah, well. That's unfortunately, us nerd boys though, we're going to be constantly hounding over it till it comes out. So
yeah, well, yeah.
All right, another movie coming out for us nerds out there, and I only bring this up. I guess it's not really a nerd movie, but it looks to me like the Victorian X-Men. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
Eva Green.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know.
The director is Tim Burton. Eva. Oh my God! I love her. I absolutely love her.
Another woman. If you need a peculiar, strong woman,
exactly,
because she can play a weirdo really well.
She's in Penny Dreadful. She does great in that. Especially when she gets naked. Oh, sorry. She was the bad guy in A Dame to Kill For, the sequel to Sin City. So. I really enjoy her character. Basically, this is, like I said, it seems to me like it's a Victorian X-Men. It's basically there's a kid named Jacob, and he discovers that there's some kind of mystery that spans the world and time and things like that. And he ends up finding this home for peculiar children. And while he's there, he meets all these kids or young adults that have these weird, strange powers. Like there's some girl that just floats. She has to be like tethered. And she floats. And I guess there's two kids.
Was she the one that breathes air?
Well, I think they all breathe air. I'm not.
No. I mean, there's a part of the preview where they've obviously got a boat, and she barfs out a whole bunch of air.
Oh, I don't know.
Raises the boat.
I've only seen the one preview for it so far, so I'm.
Well, can you answer this question for me? Mm-hmm. Why does Samuel L. Jackson is he obsessed with hunting metahumans?
I don't know. Was that Jumper?
Jumper.
Yeah.
He played the same exact type of character in Jumper. Now he's doing. Is he getting typecasted?
Maybe.
He's like, we need somebody to hunt metahumans or people with special powers. Oh, Samuel L. Jackson. He plays that role.
I can imagine. So they go to him and they're talking to him. They're like, all right, here's a script and here's the thing. All right, what your character does is he goes around the world and he collects metahumans to put together on a team. And the team, will be under, an organization called SHIELD, and you're gonna be in charge of that. So you're gonna hunt down and collect metahumans to make a team. He's like, all right, I'll do this movie. Sounds great. All right, so here's the next movie, Sam. All right, so we got this kid, right, and he can jump, long distance.
One place to another.
He teleports, and your character's job is to hunt him down. And
is to take a whip.
I got it.
And catch him with your magic whip.
I can do this. I'm motherfucking tired of these motherfucking metahumans.
These jumpers, they're jumping.
And then, so they come to him with this, and like, all right, so there's this group home, and there's these metahumans. All right, I'll take the job.
You said metahuman?
Yeah.
You got
Am I hunting them?
Girl that can float?
Yeah. Am I hunting them?
Am I going to catch her with a whip that can go through portals? No, that was the other movie. Oh.
I mean, if we go way back, did this start with Star Wars? Is that, when he was hunting the Sith? Like, is that technically a metahuman?
They have powers. Maybe he was upset.
Maybe he did that movie and he was like, man.
They really did Mace Windu wrong, though.
Yeah,
let's be honest. Because he was badass.
He got the shaft.
Oh, people don't like that movie, but I thought it was okay. He throws his badge and okay. That's impossible what he did. Yeah. Because those things are made of aluminum or, light, cast metal. Mm-hmm. There's no way that would do that. It wouldn't lodge itself in wood.
I take it you know this because you're a cop?
No.
Okay.
I've never tossed a badge like a throwing star.
I'm sure you haven't. I'm looking at the holes in the wall actually back there, and it does not look.
That was from the previous homeowner, actually.
who happened to have a badge that was like a star.
He was just apparently an angry drunk, I guess. That was. A side note: when we moved in here, all the doors and all the hinges and all the handles I had to fix from being repeatedly slammed and hit over and over again. Yeah, he was an angry drunk. Whoever
sounds like it. So the release date for this movie is November 18th. I'm sorry, September 30th, not November 18th.
Uh-oh.
September 30th.
Oh, bad info.
Yeah, I'm about to get stabbed.
Correct in the comments.
So yeah, September 30th. So hopefully this podcast will be out before that, so you can hear about us
September
talking
31st.
about Samuel Jackson collecting metahumans.
Someone's going to be listening to this on September 31st. What?
Son of a bitch!
That's out now?
A little bit more movie news. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 cast Kurt Russell as Ego the Living Planet. So apparently, Ego the Living Planet, they're not even trying to hide this.
Is that his dad?
Yeah, exactly. They're not even trying to hide this, but somehow that's his dad. Now, I remember reading some of the newer Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't read the Guardians of the Galaxy that led to the movie that came out because I can't get a hold of those right now. And if I were to buy them online, it's like $100 for the omnibus, and I don't have money like that. So unless somebody would like to send me money to buy this omnibus so I can read it and give you guys
a P.O. box.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Send us stuff. No.
But what I read, there was a person who looked human-esque, who was his dad, and he came to Earth and he impregnated the mom. So I don't know if this planet has a way of doing that, transforming himself into human form, wherever the case may be. But I do love Kurt Russell. So to see Kurt Russell play anything, and the best part about it is I don't know if you saw The Hateful Eight. But you know how Kurt Russell had a fantastic mustache in that movie?
Yes.
I hope he keeps that for this movie because all the pictures that I saw online of Ego the Living Planet has a giant mustache. I don't know why a planet needs a mustache.
Because it's Kurt Russell.
Exactly. So I think somehow Stan Lee and Jack Kirby knew when they created this character back in 1966 that this character was going to be Kurt Russell eventually.
So my issue is they're talking about Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes.
And they're talking about doing a remake or a sequel. I don't remember.
Big Trouble in Little China?
Yes. Speaking of Kurt Russell.
Why do people keep messing with these fantastic
I would just like to see, if they really want to do something and revisit it, do a sequel. Let's see where Jack Burton's at right now. Yeah. He could pull that off.
He's out of shape now.
I mean, let's
he's
find
still
out
driving. He's
where
still
the
driving
Pork
a
Chop
truck.
Express went.
Yes.
We need to find out what happened.
See, now, I would be down with that. I'm tired of these remakes. I'm not really a big
Lethal Weapon
fan.
is a TV show. That is offensive. There's no reason for Lethal Weapon to be a TV show. They made enough movies for it to be literally a season of a TV show.
Isn't there 5 movies?
Yeah, if you were to break those down into hour episodes, that would be 10 episodes. Yeah. That's enough to have a serialized show. 1. And if you add commercials, you could probably get 15 episodes. That's a full season. You don't need to do that.
Walking Dead only had 7 episodes the first season. So really, that could be 2 seasons right there.
Yeah.
I don't know, but so I'm excited about that. I'd like to see where that's going to go. I'm just excited about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, period. The first one was so fantastic that, unless they just completely drop the ball and, all of a sudden, they wipe out the entire group and, Sony takes over and puts the movie together, I really don't see this movie being crap. But
you know what? It's funny you say that because that has been what has killed franchises.
Yeah.
Look at what happened. They were trying to redo Spider-Man, and Andrew Garfield kind of, I don't know, he pissed off somebody or something happened, and then they said, sorry.
I don't know, but all I know is now they finally have the Spider-Man.
I like this kid.
Tom Holland.
I like this kid.
Holy crap. His, 5 minutes maybe on screen in Civil War?
Yeah.
And he is by far, in my opinion, again, this may piss people off, because I know that, there are a lot of Tobey Maguire fans out there, and there even are some, there are
emo,
a few,
hair, jazz club dance scene.
Okay.
Is all I have to say
that third
about
Spider-Man
Tobey
movie was horrible.
Maguire.
But what I'm saying is, in that little bit of time that he was there, I mean, he was friggin' Spider-Man. Like, he had the lines, he had the charisma.
He had that little kind of cracky voice a little bit. Like,
Did you guys see that really, really old movie, Star Wars, that classic movie, Star Wars? I mean,
I enjoyed it, and I like the idea of what they're doing now with, like, pairing them up. And now
yes.
I've heard that Tony Stark is going to have a little bit to do with the next Spider-Man movie.
Yes, well...
So... That's good.
The next Spider-Man movie is going to be a Marvel, MCU movie. It's not going to be Sony. It's going to be Marvel finally. They finally got the rights. They're finally going to do it themselves.
Well, that's right, because then they say, oh, he's finally back home.
Yes, and then the movie is called Homecoming.
Oh, okay.
And the best part, from what I understand, and I hope they keep to this, is they're not going to go and revisit the death of Uncle Ben again.
Uncle Ben,
we're done with that.
100 millionth time.
If you don't know how Uncle Ben dies by this point in time, like, you've just not been paying attention.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you don't know and you're at the movie theater and you're watching it with other people, just whisper to the person next to them, like, hey, how did Uncle Ben die? And I'm sure they'll tell
shot.
you. Yeah. I mean, I'm so tired of this rehashing. It's the same crap with Batman and his mother and father at the beginning of Batman versus Superman. Man, that did not have to be there.
Martha? Whoa! You know what's really funny? I don't ever think I ever knew Batman's parents' names.
Really?
I never would have considered that his mom's name was Martha.
Oh,
Martha Wayne.
Because it never really mattered.
It never really came up. But for both of them to have a mom named Martha, I thought I'm like, oh, that's kind of clever.
No, not really.
I don't know.
It's just lazy.
Yeah, that was a really lazy plot device to get them to be
that
friends.
That was the worst. Like, the reason they started fighting and the reason they stopped fighting are the two worst reasons.
But here's my problem, though. Wasn't that one of those, like, throwaway things where they said, oh, Batman versus Superman, what happens? Mm-hmm. Like, was that part of a huge story arc, or was that just, like, one of these one-off things that they did?
Well, they've had Batman vs. Superman a couple times in the comic books. And not as many times as you'd think, though. I actually researched this before the movie came out. And it's only been, like, maybe a handful of times they've actually, fought each other. Like, actually fought each other. And almost every time, Superman's hopped up on some kind of, mind-altering thing. Some villain has done something to him to turn him against, and Batman has to stop him. Except for, of course, the best, in my opinion, Batman versus Superman fight, which is the Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns comics. That is just phenomenal. If you haven't read those, it's basically you've got an old, haggard Batman, who actually has a suit that is now half animatronic to keep him moving. And you've got a Superman who is under the thumb of Lex Luthor, who is the president of the United States of the world, and they get pitted against each other in that, and it is just phenomenal. But if you haven't read that yet, and you're a big comic book fan, that's something to read. If you haven't read that yet, and you're a big comic book fan, though, I don't understand why you haven't read it.
Or you could just look it up on Wikipedia, like what I do, and be a lazy comic book fan.
Yeah, I mean, if you enjoy the movies more than the comics, that's fine too. All right. In more movie news, nerd-related, J.K. Rowling's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them coming out soon.
Yeah. Okay, so they started with the whole... Apparently, I thought this was a movie, but apparently it's a play with old Harry Potter. You're getting it
mixed up now.
Yeah,
you're getting
there's an old Harry Potter play.
That's the book that just came out. The book that just came out is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. We'll talk about that in a minute.
But then I'm looking at that and I'm going, well, wait a minute. They have... Did I miss the Fantastic Beast movie with
hasn't come out yet.
Stephen Hawking actor? Like, I don't know his name. I just know he plays a woman and he plays Stephen Hawking.
It's Eddie Redmayne.
Okay, well he's great.
Yeah.
I've liked him in several things.
Well, basically the plot of this movie, and it was written by J.K. Rowling. It's not a book, but she wrote the movie.
I thought it was a book.
No, well, it's okay. The Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is a book in the actual.
Yes, you're right.
This is Inception. It's a book inside the book.
It's the book inside the book.
Exactly.
So, it's the Princess Bride.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So basically, what this is, it's the story of this character Newt Scamander, who's he's Eddie, played by Eddie Redmayne. He is the writer of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and this takes place. I think it's I believe 30 years before.
I'm sorry.
It
looks like 1930s 30s, 40s New York. Like, this is oldie time.
Actually, it's 70 years before the Harry Potter.
So yeah,
books.
that's about right.
So
1920s,
yeah,
30s.
and it takes place in New York City.
Oh my! Look at all these fantastic beasts. Where do you find them all? Hey, I'm gonna ride in a hot air balloon.
Righto, bully. All right, so basically, I don't know the whole plot of the story, but it looks like he's carrying some kind of briefcase. Somebody's carrying a briefcase.
He's
full
got one of them
beasts.
Hermione bags.
Yes.
Okay, and it's like a museum or something.
It's a friggin' Mary Poppins bag.
Yeah.
Like. And somehow it busts open, and these beasts get loose in New York, or something like that. And then he's charged with catching the beasts and bringing them. Bringing them back and whatnot. And I guess after that he writes the book. But it stars Colin Farrell.
Yep.
It's got Ezra Miller, the guy that's playing the new Flash, in it as well. I don't know who he's playing. John Voight, Ron Perlman, Dan Fogler, which is I guess like the sidekick for him in this movie. He's that the chubby guy. He's been in a lot of that movie where the group of friends go to the
Stand By Me,
where they go to Lucas Ranch.
Corey Feldman's in it.
Exactly.
Holy shit!
They're on their way to Lucas Ranch to meet George Lucas and everything like that. One of their friends is dying.
Oh, the heavyset guy.
Yes,
and it's the Star Wars fan movie, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
oh,
he's in that.
I like that
movie.
movie.
Movie's fantastic.
That was a sweet movie.
Love that movie. And then Zoe Kravitz, she's Lenny Kravitz's daughter.
I was about to say,
she's getting
she's
getting a lot more roles. She was actually in that last Mad Max movie too. She was one of the brides. So
really, they were all nice.
Hubba hubba, right? Bully.
I don't want to say anything. So my girlfriend listens to this and be like, "What?"
I'm gonna say a lot because your girlfriend listens to this.
Oh God.
Why are you taking your pants off right now?
What? I don't know what you're talking about. It's warm in here.
So, the release date for this movie is November 18th. I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm a big Harry Potter nerd. I know that's hard for some grown-ass men to admit, but I really do like the Harry Potter series. My ex-wife is a school teacher, and she really got me to reading the Harry Potter books back in the day, and I just fell in love with them. I thought it was fantastic, and I thought it was a great way to get kids to read and things. So I've always enjoyed them. My son loves the first Harry Potter movie. He watches it religiously at least once a day when I have him. So he's like really addicted to it. So, but I guess we can use that as a segue into Harry Potter and the Cursed
Broadway
Child.
play.
Yes, the
Harry
Broadway
Potter
play
and the Broadway play
that they actually released as a book, which it's still the play though. It's not in book form. So if you have trouble with reading a play,
with understanding words in English and
I sometimes have trouble speaking words in English.
Not understanding that it's not a movie.
Exactly.
What?
But basically, this book takes place 19 years after the last book that they did. Harry Potter's a grown man now. He works for the Ministry of Magic. He has
a mortgage. He has anxiety.
Exactly.
He drinks
he's
every
balding.
night. He's really needs to address his alcoholism.
I've really seen some shit. Actually, I mean, he's like a police officer in the Ministry of Magic. Like his whole thing is he goes after dark wizards and stuff like that. Surprise, surprise. But he's got a son, Albus Severus Potter.
I guess it could be either Severus or Severus.
And basically, his son is not as talented as he is. He's really not talented much at all. I don't want to give too much of the story away because there's still people that it's going to take a little while before everybody reads this. So, but basically, the story kind of revolves around him and his best friend Scorpius Malfoy, which is kind of a giveaway. So, but you'll have to see.
So
you have to see how they become friends. Yeah, you'll have to see how they become friends. But they still heavily bring in the original cast of characters too. You've got Hermione. She's the Minister of Magic now. You've got Ron. They're both married. Which this isn't any kind of spoiler because if you read the last book, you know that's what happens at the end.
To do it,
yeah.
So,
Jenny and Harry are married. That kind of thing. I don't want to give a whole lot away because it's a fantastic read. If you really enjoy the Harry Potter books, this is a must read. If you're a huge fan, definitely have to read this. If you're a medium fan, you should probably read this.
If you're a super fan, you should go to the play.
Yeah, exactly. Which actually, I keep saying Broadway, but I don't know if it's on Broadway. I know that it's in London. I know that's where it started. So, but if you are getting tickets to go to the play in London, Felton and I are more than happy to accompany you. You'll just have to buy us
Pay
tickets.
for it, and food, and lodging, and
we're both very broke people.
All of that.
Yeah, but
because I have a mortgage just like Harry.
We'll entertain you the whole time. Like Felton, from what I understand, can juggle.
Yep, I have very, very many redeemable factors. I don't smell. I shower a lot.
Rather large knowledge of useless facts. My girlfriend will tell you that. So
there you go. That's helpful sometimes when you're places.
Exactly. But yeah, that's
doing activities.
Exactly.
Being more vague.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the book. If you got time, you should definitely read it. Harry Potter's been good to me. So I just want to do like a real quick 3 must-read comic books for those out there. At least I should say Merce's 3 must-read comics. And I'd probably like to do this every podcast, just kind of give you 3 books to get out there and kind of get off the mainstream.
Required reading.
I wouldn't even say required, but if you're into comic books, or you're just getting into comic books and you want something that's really entertaining, it's off the beaten path a little bit, I'm going to give you a couple suggestions. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about is a book called Rat Queens. It's by Curtis J. Wiebe, I believe is how you say it.
Oh, I'm looking at you because I've heard of that.
Rat Queens is a fantastic book. It's basically it's like somebody was playing Dungeons and Dragons with their friends, and they're all female characters, and they all have potty mouths, and they're all they all kind of do whatever the hell they want. It takes place in a fantasy setting, but it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. All these characters. It's 4 very strong female characters. You've got your regular archetypes from D&D. RPGs, D&D. You've got a healer, she's a cleric. You've got your sorceress, she deals in magic. You've got your warrior, she's a dwarf fighter, basically. And then you've got your thief, she's a little gnome.
Rapscallion.
Exactly. And to go back to the dwarf one, it cracks me up because they keep with the fantasy thing where, even the female dwarves grow beards. Well, at the beginning, she doesn't have a beard. She keeps shaving it, and then like later in the book, she grows it. She's just like, "Fuck it, you know what? I'm just gonna wear a beard." Try. But it's a fantastic read. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's not for kids. It's really not for kids at all.
NSFK?
Exactly. Yeah. It's got drugs, alcohol, sex, all
Tobacco,
that stuff, violence. Exactly. But it's really, really worth reading. Another one by one of my absolute favorite writers is Leaving Megapolis. It's by Gail Simone. Imagine The Walking Dead, but with superheroes. Like, something has happened to the superheroes in this city of Megapolis. And Megapolis is basically like a big city that's protected by the best superheroes in the world. They're all, and this is by Dark Horse Comic Books, and they're all rip-offs of, like, Superman and Captain America and all this, Flash and all that kind of stuff. But something has happened to where all the heroes have a bloodlust, okay? And they have to satiate that bloodlust. Otherwise, it keeps driving them insane. So they have to go and they have to kill somebody. And after they kill somebody, they're satiated. They don't eat.
So they gotta kill them. They're not just like drinking blood.
No. They just kill them. That's it. And then they're fine.
They got plenty of people on death row.
No, it's just this weird thing, and they didn't really explain exactly what's happened yet. But the story actually follows a group of survivors, of humans, trying to get out of the city. And they're trying to avoid all these superheroes that are going around killing everyone. It's a fantastic, fantastic read. It's just, it's got a very strong female character as the lead. And everybody in the group, you don't know who you can trust, who you can't trust. Because, some of these heroes might be pretending to be, normal people too, because they've got secret identities. So like they might be.
So maybe they're being normal people, and they kill someone to try and cover up.
Exactly. So there's a lot of like really good story plot going on. And that was actually a Kickstarted book. It was started on Kickstarter, and then and now it's published. So.
That reminds me of the board games where someone is a traitor.
Yes.
Like
we'll talk about those a little bit later because those are my absolute favorite board games. The cooperative board games where there's a traitor, like Dead of Winter, Shadows over Camelot. Like those are my absolute favorite kind of board games. I love that. The third book is a book by another one of my favorite writers. His name is Jonathan Hickman, and the book is called East of West. Now this one is basically I don't even know how to explain it properly because each story arc is a little bit different. The first story arc is like a tragic love story the main character is Death.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's brought back at the same time as the other four horsemen.
Okay.
But the rest of the other three of the four horsemen betrayed Death previous to this book. You know, and you're kind of finding out how and everything like that here. You know, and they're trying to bring about the end of days. And
Well,
Death,
that's what they do, yeah.
Death isn't necessarily trying to avoid the end of days, but he had something taken from him. He had two things taken from him. And in the first book, you know, one of those things he's trying to get back is his wife. You know, he fell in love, and that's why the other horsemen betrayed him. And now he's trying to bring them back. Now, this is a crazy, futuristic sci-fi like opera. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. Like what's going on in the world. It doesn't even explain like where it takes place in the future, and it's actually like an alternate reality future as well, because America is split up into four parts, and one of the parts is run by China. You know, another part is run by like the Navajo Nation. You know, another part is
So alternate future or alternate history into future.
Yeah,
okay,
it's an amazing. Anybody who reads Jonathan Hickman will instantly kind of know what to expect, because Jonathan Hickman is one of the guys that really thinks outside the box when he writes. You know, and so these stories that he did for East of West are just. I mean, they're mind-blowing. They're crazy. Sometimes they're hard to follow. That's another problem with Jonathan Hickman, is you have to be really astute when you're reading. But in my opinion, it's really worth your time checking out these 3 books. All right, well, I'd like to thank you for listening to the first NuB Podcast. I've been Merce.
So it's Felton Hugglue.
Before we go, I'd like to give you some upcoming events in the local community in Brevard. First off, there's going to be an RPG Lab Eclipse Phase Week 1 at Dogs of War, September 3rd from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eclipse Phase, I guess, is a tabletop RPG of post-apocalyptic transhuman conspiracy and horror.
Ooh, I love transhumanism. That's throwing out a buzzword there.
The best kind of humanism. It's going to be a store-run 6 to 8 week campaign. Sign up. I guess they're going to sign up the first 6 players and then go from there. So,
oh wow, that's dedication right there.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's a short form college course right there.
Well,
6 to 8 weeks.
If they're only meeting probably like once a week, though, I mean, I'm sure it's not like every.
Yeah, that's a short form college course. That's what I'm doing in my IT class right now.
Next, we have Batman Day at Famous Faces and Funnies. That's going to be September 17th at 11 a.m. They're going to have 20% off of Batman graphic novels, 20%. Toys, and shivs. Yeah. Shirts, not shivs.
Batman shivs to stab those bad
guys. I'm sure
guys.
they've got some Batman shivs.
Why not?
And then 50% off of all the Batman back issues.
Ooh.
Viera Comics, they're going to be having their 1-year anniversary. That's their 1-year anniversary blast. September 3rd, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. You're going to meet Gwenpool. I guess it's the cosplayer Erica Cosplay. So you'll get to go meet her.
Is she local?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I know a couple of local ones. I believe
she's local. I mean, I could be wrong, but there's going to be 10% off of everything in the store, excluding new comics and mystery boxes. There's going to be a raffle, and there's going to be a cosplay contest at 2 p.m. So,
wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm going to go win that.
Exactly. Now, which cosplay?
Inspector Gadget. I've got to debut local Inspector Gadget somewhere else, because I mean it was so much fun.
Yeah, I'll try to get my girlfriend to go there too. My girlfriend is also a cosplayer. Soon she will have her sites up. Her cosplay is Foxtails, so look for that. I'll probably be plugging that a couple times too, just so that she doesn't hit me with something. Next we have there's going to be a Space Coast Comic Con 2. I didn't go to the first one, so hopefully this one is
I missed out.
Is better than the first one.
I heard it wasn't bad. I heard it was small, but sometimes
that's how you have
the
to start,
smaller ones are good.
It's going to be September 9th, it's going to be September 9th through the 11th. It's at 301 Trucker Lane, Cocoa, Florida, 32920. I guess we can probably put that in the comments area or something like that, you know.
Go up 95 and it's off the interstate.
Exactly. You can find, I mean, you go online and Google these, or you go on Facebook and look them up. I'm sure you can find them. And last but not least, there's going to be a Magic the Gathering Kaladesh pre-release weekend at Get Your Fun On, September 23rd through September 25th. Anywhere where they do Magic, I'm sure there's probably going to be the same pre-release, but this is just the only one that I found online. So I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully you guys will meet us again for the next one.
All right. Thank you. Hold on. See ya.
Yeah. Peace out.